A very warm welcome back to the channel. In today's proceedings, there's discussion on JetBlue and Spirit Airlines. Then we move over towards SAS, switching alliances officially, and there's developments surrounding the Federal Aviation Administration's audit into Boeing and Spirit Aerosystems, which is where I want to begin today's proceedings. The Federal Aviation Administration, or more commonly referred to as just simply the FAA, has confirmed what we have known for some time, following a lengthy audit. Boeing and its suppliers have quality problems. In its audit that spanned 6 weeks, the FAA says it identified not just one, but multiple instances when the companies of Boeing and Spirit Aerosystems failed to comply with manufacturing and quality control requirements that were laid out for them. The FAA initiated this audit following, as we know, the door blowout incident at the top of the year. While this was an isolated incident, it did result in 737-9s being parked, and during the grounding phase, preliminary inspections identified further loose bolts, thus raising concerns about the manufacturing process and spilling all of this fallout we've seen. Details of the manufacturing processes and Boeing's non-compliance with these are being made public as the FAA attempts to be as transparent as possible during this process. As part of a response to the audit, Boeing is being forced to compile a lengthy turnaround plan where it will have 90 days to do so that will address not just the concerns from this audit, but several other investigations. Ultimately, the hope is that these quality issues, which are becoming more and more persistent, can stop. The FAA says they're ultimately systematic quality control issues, and Boeing must right their wrongs to ensure long-term stability, and now is that time. The FAA, airline customers, and the flying public know that what has occurred over the last half a decade can't continue, and the hope is, through these thorough audits, investigations, expert panels, and much more, Boeing will have everything possible to move forward in a more positive manner. Holding Boeing accountable is something else the FAA says it wants to do. Already, the regulator has, for example, halted any production increases planned by Boeing for its 737 line. A temporary suspension is deemed as essential, as if they were to increase production, it could jeopardize the turnaround plan from being implemented safely at the plane maker, as their focus would shift from trying to right their wrongs to increasing production rates and everything that comes with it. Additionally, in a new statement, the Federal Aviation Administration said it's exploring a third party being used to independently review quality systems, while also having an on-site presence at several Boeing and Spirit Aerosystem facilities long into the future, so they can get a gauge for how Boeing is implementing all these initiatives they are looking to introduce. Several analysts and onlookers have obviously questioned the FAA's position and their oversight to allow these quality slips to continue, even when knowing the track record of the plane maker. However, the regulator's focus remains on ensuring that Boeing is held accountable and that change is made. JetBlue has formally announced it'll break up existing plans to merge with Spirit Airlines in a landmark move for the US airline and the broader aviation industry, with, as we know, both Spirit and JetBlue hoping to become the fourth largest carrier in the United States. A judge within the US rejected the merger, you may recall, in the first month of this year, as there were very visible concerns over the impact it would have on consumers. This rejection was a massive blow to the deal, with any attempts to turn around the stance obviously going to lead to not just substantial costs, but, if we're generalizing it, resources. Immediately while an appeal was said to be lodged, there was much uncertainty on just how much JetBlue would look to push for the appeal. Spirit Airlines, on the other hand, was viewed as the company that was really pushing for the merger to go through more than JetBlue, as analysts believed that the low-cost airline needed a tie-up more than ever to secure its own future. Meanwhile, for JetBlue, well, some viewed a merger rejection as a more positive development for the company long into the future. Either way, there was a firm belief that even if, say, an appeal was lodged formally, overruling the decision would be very difficult, with actually the CEO of JetBlue informing employees that the chance was, and I quote, extremely low. This per an email seen by Reuters. Obviously, if it's extremely low, and as I touched on, the amount of resources required to turn this around, it would probably be deemed not worth pursuing. A total of USD 69 million will be paid to Spirit by JetBlue. Essentially, think of this as a breakup fee. However, it's merely consolation for a troubled airline that is struggling significantly to turn around its fortunes. Consolidation within the aviation industry actually presents fantastic opportunities for companies that may be looking to boost each other a little bit better. However, such deals are going to equally be heavily scrutinized, with a significant focus on one element of customer impact. If we really get down to the basics, will such a deal mean that competitors will struggle to survive? Will airfares rise? And will it generally harm consumers? If these core principles say that are identified have negative repercussions if a merger was to go ahead, well, then there'll be calls for the deal to be rejected. And in the case of JetBlue and Spirit, that's exactly what happened. The logic behind the rejection was that if a merger went ahead, the low-cost fares made available by Spirit would cease to exist, as JetBlue's philosophy would take over. For Spirit, what does this mean? Well, it's honestly going to be a fascinating couple of months if I do say so myself. Spirit has always stood by operating a business model that obviously positively impacts customers with cheap airfares. However, in recent years, it's shown us that it's a business model that has struggled to turn a profit. Spirit has recorded losses continuously, and internally at JetBlue, alongside analysts, this was an apparent cause for concern when looking at the merger tie-up. Without JetBlue's intervention or potential consolidation elsewhere, there are very valid concerns about the long-term future of Spirit, and whether it can survive challenges that the industry will throw at it, while also not turning a routine profit. Time will tell on that front, but obviously Spirit will be doing everything in their power to sustain their business. Onto the final story, and we've had confirmation from Air France-KLM that as part of a comprehensive restructuring to SAS, they'll say goodbye to Star Alliance. Remember, this a group/alliance that they were a founding member of, and switch to SkyTeam. This development was previously identified in 2023, so it's not necessarily fresh news, but it has now been confirmed as the course of action for the airline that has experienced a turbulent last couple of years. Air France confirmed this in their full-year financial results, saying that they were hoping this would be completed by the second quarter of 2024 at best. The group further confirmed that as of December 2023, it had paid a deposit, which amounted to 13 million euros. This included in the net cash flow for investing activities. Overall, such an investment will represent a larger scale one, which equates to USD 144 million when it will be finalized and spread across several means as part of their investment into the airline. Following an investment from Air France-KLM, the leading aviation group has a view of actually increasing this stake into the future, to what could very well become a majority if deemed suitable and all parties agree. At its current stance, the investment saw Air France-KLM, or should I say, will see it, take a 19.9% stake, with the other percentage points being taken up by others. This includes, for example, Castle Lake, which is a US investment firm. The alliance switch is going to be big if it can go ahead. At least that is the plan. Remember, as I said, it is because SAS has been with Star Alliance for some time. But obviously now, with the Air France-KLM investment and then building up their relationship with SAS, there are greater benefits to joining the SkyTeam Alliance. And just really generally for Air France-KLM, it allows them to have something that they've not had for some time, or rarely ever. That is, a hub in the northern part of Europe that they can use to their advantage, that being SAS. It is worth noting that this investment, and obviously all the changes that I am talking about, is still subject to certain conditions and needs to be finalized. Arguably the most significant focus point will be approval from the European Commission and the US court who are overseeing the reorganization. Obviously, as I've touched on already in this video, there's a lot of focus placed on consolidation and the negative repercussions, and if it is seen that this could happen, the deal won't go ahead. You can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thanks a lot for your support here on the channel. It certainly does mean a lot. I will see you same place, same time tomorrow for your latest industry recap.
And we'll fly.